Krystal Barnett. I'm a North South City resident. St. Louis Public Schools is the largest district that serves my area. I'm speaking in support of this bill for two reasons. I have two children, one 18 years old, getting ready to graduate. Got accepted to six out of the 7 schools he applied to, and it was because of choice. I was a 19-year-old pregnant mother. We didn't have a lot of choice options in our area, and if we had been stuck or trapped in the quality of education that was being provided in my neighborhood, then where would Malachi have been now at 18 years old? When I think about the way that I've heard education be spoke about in a way that's very detached from what really happens to a family when they don't have quality choice options. I believe that charter schools were brought to the inner city, especially where I live, because we didn't have quality happening in the St. Louis Public Schools. And while people like to have conversations surrounding and wrapped in COVID, we can show with data, even from DESE and a lot of other places, that our kids were being failed way before the pandemic. What the pandemic then allowed for us and everybody to see is there was a great disparity, a lot of inequities, and a lot of non-education happening even before we had to move into the virtual space. For me, and a lot of parents that I represent, because I own a nonprofit called Bridge to Hope, and we work with a lot of families, low income, from the same community that I'm from. All of us are looking for an out. We are not interested in the conversation of how much money it will cost, because it's already costing us money to bury our children. When we don't put them on the path to great education and they're trapped in places that we call failure factories, then you leave us with no options. And then when they get on roads that are not favorable, that will also affect the communities that may not be affected right now. So if you really think about how this conversation should be formulated and or wrapped up, think about that. You might not be experiencing what some of us say is like our life, what the non-education and the low quality of education can really bring to your family as far as destruction, but that destruction can eventually get to where you are. So then when you think about how you might not be able to relate to the stories that you hear and you only want to talk about dollars, think about what that real impact will cause. Crime knows no location or no demographic. When a certain amount of students just aren't given the path that they need, not to get in the path of destruction that might then land at your doorstep. So what we're asking for, to me, is really simple. Charter schools is not the reason why public schools are not being funded properly or why students aren't getting what they need in your school. And give me the choice. I might choose to still stay in your public school institution. It might be what's best for my family. But if it's not, give me the out, so that we don't then lose the child to another path of life that nobody wants their children to be on, and we still have the options for our kids to succeed academically. It's, to me, politics, like my good friend Carmen brought up earlier, is the central focus of why I think the conversation can't be had in a way that's best for families. I do believe that this panel here and everybody sitting here can all agree that the children are what matters most. And if we really take out semantics and politics and think about what's best for families, then it wouldn't even be an argument to want to allow choice in anybody's area. It doesn't necessarily dictate that your school sucks, it's that your school sucks for me. Just like if I want to go to a restaurant, it might not be the quality of food that I prefer. That doesn't mean that your restaurant sucks. It just means that it sucks for me, meaning my choice. Same thing we're saying with education. In every other aspect of life, choice is not something that's even argued about. But when it comes to education, there's all these people, big corp, teachers unions, this, that, and the third happening. But yet our communities are being destroyed. When she brought up that 8 school closures are happening, 6 of those schools are in our immediate neighborhood. So you tell me where 600 students are supposed to go if St. Louis Public School doesn't have what that family needs, and then you take away choice too. Where does those 600 students supposed to do? We just supposed to accept the low quality of education and hope for the best when they get 18 that they stay and be quality citizens? Or are we going to be, because we're in positions of leadership, right, which all of you are we going to then think, well, I don't want that child to not have the option to do well. I don't want this child to have to go down this path because this particular school doesn't work for them, when there's plenty of more options that we can provide. That's really what we're talking about right now. This is a bottom line thing. It's not even a race thing anymore. I think for all people that we were saying that virtual doesn't work in every space for every child. Mental health is at an all-time rise. Dropout rates for us, especially in our community, is at an all-time high. And now you want to tell us we don't have choice too. Like, at that point, it's a big slap in the face, and it's a disrespect to all parents. If you want to blame us for the responsibility of the negativity that happens from children, then give us the option to create a simple, stable foundation so that we're not left to be responsible for the things that you all don't appreciate after the fact. Like, we can become proactive in the educational space, and I believe that's really how all of us need to come together. How can we be proactive to still allow for parents to make choices that they need to make, still allow for students to get the education that they deserve, and we're not particularly saying that one way will work for everybody. I think it's been clear, especially from the pandemic, that there's no one set way for every student to be a success.
Okay, ma'am. Did you fill out a witness form?
I will, yes.
Okay, please do so. You take a question?
I will, sure.
Representative Hill, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. That's
Thank you.
Great testimony. Can you tell me, well, let me first start by saying this. I didn't use public school resources until COVID hit. My children, God has blessed us with the ability to put them in a private school. If I could have given the resources that we spared Wentzville School District to you, would you have used it?
Yes.
Would you have driven your kids out to Wentzville?
Yes. I drive my kids out to Burroughs. That's where my son is now.
Oh, congratulations. That's a great school.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah. You'll do that for your children, right?
Yes, because choice provided me the opportunity, but it was a great sacrifice. Private school is expensive,
Yes.
and it's 55 minutes from where I live.
Right. Right.
So what if a Burroughs or that choice was in my neighborhood?
Right. Right. Then you could have a community again.
Exactly.
So, why do you think the teachers, NEA, their union, why do you think they oppose this?
Because if you ask how many of those teachers are trapped in those failure factories, the answer would be not my children. So if you're super disconnected from the fact that schools actually do fail kids because it's not happening to your child, then you won't take it as serious as someone like your 5 of your kids being failed in a school, or this is the only school that I have the means to get to, or I don't have transportation or the means to go to a John Burroughs, so my only option is this. Like, when you have choice, that's why they speak the way they do, because they have the choice. Let me go into your house and tell you what you can't do now. Let me take away your cars. Let me go in your bank account and take away half of your income. Let me take away one of your vehicles. Let me tell you that your kid can only go here. And then I'm going to talk to you 5 years from now and see if your conversation will still be the same.
Right. Now, why do you think superintendents they oppose this too? Why do you think they oppose it?
Because superintendents like to keep the narrative just like the superintendent at SLPS, that charter schools are like a competition to public. What charter schools have really done is made you have to take some real awareness, accountability to your lack of education in your building. And whether and instead of you being honest and transparent as a leader to say these are the things that we can do better so that our kids won't want to leave your school, you just rather get rid of your opposition so you don't have to take accountability and tell the truth to parents. So in hindsight, it's like debauchery in my mind.
So,
and it's intentional.
Have you ever met your school board members?
Yeah.
What do you know about them?
Dorothy Rhodey Collins, child on the IEP, still wants to start a moratorium in our area. Adam Lane, on the school board of a charter school. It seems like he's for school choice, but I can't tell because you don't speak up enough. Donna Jones and Susan Jones have a history of being on our school board, but no real change, no real systemic change. I'm not talking about Mr. Sharp's child or Miss Terry's child. I'm talking about systemic change where you see a greater effect within our communities. So yeah, we've talked to all 7 school board members.
Are most of them educators?
The good majority.
Yeah.
They're TFA alums. They're connected to the education system somehow.
So
and they are parents, but they speak from the educator's perspective.
Right. So no, you're not on the school board, right?
I'm I'm not on the school board.
And no, just parents, right? If it's a parent on the school board, they're likely a former educator or
They
an
don't
educator
work
somewhere else in another district.
That would be correct.
Well, thank you for making the trip up here, and I mean, you did a great job. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
I agree. Any other questions for the lady? Thank you so much for your time, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yep. And thanks to the gentleman for helping.
Yep.
Next, in opposition.
Well,